Hello all you lovely internet people, Ollie here. I've had a fantastic month doing Philosophy Tube. I hope you've enjoyed the videos too, so now it's time to have a look at the comments you've been leaving. I did a video on Bishop George Berkeley, the guy who thinks that the real world exists only in our own minds, and Creative Nothing, among a few others, said that Berkeley relying on God to do a lot of the heavy lifting in his philosophical system is a bit of a cop-out in their opinion. And, you know, yeah, I can kind of see how nowadays we might say that's a bit of a problem, although given that Berkeley was a bishop, I think it's an understandable move for him to make. I also think that the rest of the stuff he says about reality kind of being grounded in subjective interpretation still is interesting and still is thought-provoking, even if we don't buy into the God doing the heavy lifting stuff. I wonder if there's a version of Berkeley's ideas that we could develop that maybe didn't include God. Romi Props asked a very interesting question. If reality, according to Berkeley, is subjective, then how does God, as a subject, experience the world in his system? Does God's subjective perception have any kind of privileged position? Is it supposed to count for more or be more accurate than everyone else's? Or are we all kind of on an even footing to God there? And that's a really, really interesting question. Like, I don't know the answer to that. I wonder what Berkeley would say. I mean, if God is supposed to be omniscient, then does God see everyone's perspective, even perspectives that contradict? Like, what happens? I mean, when God looks at a photon, does God see it as a wave or a particle or both or neither or something else? So these are really, really interesting questions that almost touch on the theological. You know, maybe I should start Theology Tube and start talking about that. I do have an episode scripted about God and religion. Actually, maybe I'll move that up the schedule a little bit because it's quite a thought-provoking one. The compiler asked, what is the difference between Berkeley's ideas about reality being subjective and Kant's ideas about the phenomenal world? So Kant believed that there's the world as we see it, the phenomenal world, the world, if you like, if you believe Berkeley, the world that's in our heads. And Kant also believed there's the world as it is in itself, the world as it is when nobody's looking, which he called the noumenal world. And Berkeley just straight up denies that can be a thing. He says he doesn't even understand what the noumenal world would be. James Tuvell pointed out that the universe existed before our minds and will presumably go on existing when there are no minds to see it. And yes, you may be right, but I think that we can still learn something very interesting about perception, given that we are unable to describe what the universe was like before minds or will be after minds, except in terms of how it would be perceived. And I think that tells us something very interesting, at least about the way our own minds work. Strange Harbor asked, can I talk in my American accent for you guys? Yeah, not a problem. I can talk like this all day if you want. I'll do the whole video like this. The accent we call General American in the UK is taught to actors at acting college, and that's what I do. I'm a professional actor, and I learned this accent there. It's not supposed to be from any specific place in the US. It's supposed to be how a British person will recognize that a character is American. Actually, it's a fun story. As part of my learning process for this accent, we had to do a performance in class when we did a monologue in our American accents, and I did it. And I was talking to my girlfriend afterwards. She's from California. And I was saying, you know, was it accurate? And can you give me some pointers? And she was saying, oh yeah, it's really good. You're really accurate, but it's really odd. You use your head voice a lot. Your voice is really high when you're up here, and you're talking like, hi, I'm from the United States. Like, she said, no, I go away and look at somebody like Bryan Cranston, who uses his chest voice a lot more, and you can kind of find some lower notes and some different resonance with it. So originally when I started doing the accent, I was really up here. I was really, oh, hey everybody. It's almost like Kermit the Frog, you know? But now I can come down here and I've learned how to do it a little more. Anyway, that's quite enough of that. Before I talk about the next bunch of comments though, if you're in London, or you're going to be in London in the first weekend in August, I think that's the 5th, 6th, 7th of August, the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I am going to be at Summer in the City, the big YouTube convention that happens in the UK. It's like the British VidCon. I'm going to be there. I've been invited, got green room pass and everything. It's going to be really, really sweet. So if you want to meet me and say hi, and I'll sign autographs or whatever if you want. If you want to get a picture or anything, then feel free. If you're going to be at Summer in the City, I'll see you there. And I think you can still get tickets to Summer in the City. I'll post a link to the website in the doobly-doo. You can still get them at time of filming, I think. So if you want to meet me and say hi, I'm going to be at this place at this time. So get yourself along and we'll hang out. So then I did a video on John Locke and John Locke's ideas of land and property, and in particular how those ideas were then used to support colonialism. And it was a coincidence that that video was released just one day after Canada Day, but it was a very happy coincidence. First of all, I got a few comments from people who said that they were Indigenous Americans or Indigenous Canadians themselves and said that they enjoyed the video, and that's really, really positive as far as I'm concerned. Thank you very much for letting me know. I think it's about time I had a bit more Indigenous thought on the channel, and you know, philosophy in general has a bit of a dearth of that, academic philosophy anyway. But I'm really, really glad that you enjoyed it, and thanks for letting me know, because it's something that I spent a lot of time wanting to get right. The video also really pissed off white supremacists, which is really, really funny. I think, frankly, if your work is not pissing off white supremacists in this day and age, then what are you doing? Stalled7D pointed out that John Stuart Mill, one of the philosophers that I kind of mentioned in passing, in addition to kind of supporting colonialism, also did a lot of good stuff as well. And yeah, he did. People say that Mill was an early feminist, and I think he was in certain ways more progressive than some of his contemporaries. I don't think that there's a definitive answer about whether Mill and Locke are good or bad. You know, I don't think it's that simple. I think it's both, and it depends on how you look at it. And I think that I prefer, anyway, to focus more on what function is performed by highlighting either their good stuff or their bad stuff. I certainly live and was educated in a context where the Enlightenment thinkers, their positives were highlighted and their negatives were kind of ignored, and the victims of those negatives were ignored as well. So I wanted to offer a bit of a different perspective on that. So like I said in my video on white supremacist propaganda, sometimes it's not always just about the content of what is said. Sometimes it's about the act that is performed when we speak. Iram Reisman pointed out that Rousseau's conception of the state of nature was slightly different from Locke's in some important ways, and that I shouldn't really have lumped them in together. Absolutely fair enough. Yeah, fair cop. I'll cop to that one. I need to read some more Rousseau. I really only kind of mentioned him in passing and didn't mean to make it a big point, but yeah, fair enough. Thanks very much for letting me know. Those are all the comments I have time for. Thank you very much for leaving them all. It's been a really fun month on the channel. I've really enjoyed it. Like, I had to have a break from filming for a while and just sort of put out episodes that I filmed ages ago because I was really busy at drama school in my final shows. But it's really been good to kind of get back in front of the camera again, and I've got some really exciting stuff coming up as well. I've been filming a 4-part series over the last couple of weeks and editing it together, and I've got a fun video on Kant I want to do, and I've got a video on religion I want to do that I mentioned. I've got a 2-part series on refugees and human rights that I'm kind of nervous about because I kind of think it's good, but in some ways it's slightly different from what I usually do, and that's going to piss off the white supremacists as well. That's going to be really funny. So yeah, that's kind of the next month or two of programming to expect it. Oh, hey, and also, as usual, I must thank all my patrons who've been keeping me alive and paying for my food and my rent and my bills and my internet this month. So thank you very much to everyone who supported the show. And without further ado, I will give you the credits. Enjoy.